Other researchers have identified an average daily foraging distance of about 200 to 250 meters, and which is, you know, a fair distance to go for an animal the size of a gray squirrel. And that's not just going from home out 200 meters and coming back. That's constantly going out, grabbing something, bringing back food cache, going out, coming back, going out, coming back. In winter, when they are just relying on their food caches, their average daily movement is only about 25 meters. So they have these really restricted home ranges in winter because they don't have to go anywhere as long as they have a good food cache. They create latrines, so they defecate in the same place time after time after time. Some other studies have shown that slightly over 2 latrines are present for every wood rat. When we were here last year, we must have found half a dozen or more latrines, but they're all in very close proximity to one another. So you're going to have to come down a little closer if you want to see these 2 latrines. This first one is right here. So, if you can make these out. So these are wood rat pellets. This is a collection of very old, moderately old, and pretty fresh droppings. The way we can tell that is just with, if you're familiar with deer pellets or rabbit pellets, ones that are reasonably fresh, especially species that make darker pellets. Once they dry out, they get black and shiny. So you can see this pellet right here is fairly shiny, and this one isn't too bad. Okay. So those are probably a few days to maybe a week or two old. All that rain we had last weekend may have been before those were deposited. These are some older pellets, slightly older, a few days to a few weeks older, still black but not as shiny. And then these ones that have had their black color faded out, these really brown, kind of look like rat-sized rabbit pellets. Those have been there for probably a couple months anyway. Okay? So that biologist I was telling you about, Kalbich-Koski, when he identified those 800 or so sites, they would be looking for presence of toilets primarily, and also food caches. We won't find any of those today, but I'll describe them here in a minute. So just by spending time searching likely habitat and getting a rough estimate of the age of the actual pellets, they could say whether or not a site was currently occupied by wood rats or whether it hadn't been occupied in a while. Now a toilet like this, which is exposed, those pellets are going to degrade somewhat rapidly. But if they're sheltered, and you can see another toilet down in here, completely protected from the rain and the sun. I don't see any really fresh pellets right there, but you can even see some of those are white. They're probably molding or really old. They could be 2 or 3 years old. So we know wood rats will leave these toilets and persist in an area for potentially years.